want to bring in our comment, Joy Reid and Coulter. Joy Reid first, my colleague. What do you see here? What does it mean to you?
You know, Chris, I think that this is the shape of things to come. I think that we are going to have a long, hot summer leading into a fall campaign that is going to break down along this very fault line because I think that immigration and unlawful migration was sort of the casus belli of the Trump war against the Republican Party and against Republican elites. It was the straw that broke the camel's back in terms of the bargain that Republican elites have for 30, 40, 50 years made, particularly with working class white voters. You give us your votes, we'll get low taxes for ourselves and deregulation, and we'll give you sort of cultural tchotchkes. We'll say we're with you on prayer and school, religion, we're with you on gay marriage. But when it came to immigration reform, something that George W. Bush wanted to do, something that the Republican National Committee saw as a way to expand the Republican electorate by bringing in Latinos, that was it. And I think that Trump ran right into that breach. He has got these voters. This is their issue. This is the fundamental issue that animates support for Donald Trump, this idea that we are taking this country from them.
Who else is stopping illegal immigration? Who else is doing anything to stop illegal immigration? Who anywhere doing it to stop it?
Well, I can tell you that at the moment, net migration from Mexico.
Who's doing anything? I know the arguments.
Zero, right? So it's zero.
I know that's not an answer, though, Joy. What in the law? Who is coming up a way with enforcing the law? Is anybody?
Well, I think if you ask advocates for the Dreamers, et cetera, they would point very angrily at the White House and say that the Obama administration, which has had more deportations than George W. Bush ever did. They've been very aggressive, ICE has, about deporting people from the country. So the administration actually right now has been the sort of tip of the spear of being extremely aggressive. And in addition to the fact that the economics have reduced migration to zero, I think a lot of particularly younger activists actually are pretty angry at the Obama administration for the way that they've been very aggressive about enforcing those laws.
I can understand different sides here, and I can also understand that nobody's come up with, it's the one part of our legal system, one part of our social system where no one's come up with a connection between the law that we pass and enforcement. Okay, pass the most liberal program in the world for bringing people into the country, and then enforce it. I don't hear Democrats or progressives talking about enforcement of any kind for any kind of law, no matter how liberal it is. Joy, that's my problem. You cannot have a legislature in Washington that's controlling the country, representing the people, that can't seem to pass any law on immigration they're willing to enforce.
Well, the reality is, though, that Democrats actually did get a law through. I mean, you have a bill that the Republican House of Representatives
What did that do to stop illegal immigration? Would that have stopped illegal immigration?
A lot of advocates for the Dreamers, et cetera, feel that the law was actually too heavy on enforcement and that the balance of enforcement versus admittance was actually weighted on the side too much of punishment. Democrats and some Republicans, to their credit, people like John McCain, tried to get that law passed, but Republicans wouldn't allow it. They won't allow immigration reform to get through the Senate and the House. They just won't allow it.
I hear the words immigration reform. I've heard the word reform all my life, and I'm a little skeptical whether reform means fix the problem, if you think there is a problem. And, Coulter, I think there's a disagreement here, and it's pretty profound, between people who think illegal immigration is a problem and those who don't. They say, we'll live with it. People come in here, we'll take care of them, we'll do the best we can to assimilate if we can. If we can't, we'll just live with it. I don't hear Democrats out beating the drum to fix a problem of illegal immigration. I don't hear it. I don't hear Republicans stopping illegal hiring for 1 second or 1 cent, wanting to stop the illegal hiring.
No, you just had it exactly right. Who are the other Republicans who want to enforce laws that were passed and are on the books? Well, there's one in the Senate, Jeff Sessions. There are about 5 in the House, and that's pretty much it. You have 100% of Democrats and 95% of Republicans who are indignant that the public wants written federal laws on the books enforced. That is some sort of extremist position. Well, okay, if you want open borders, pass a law for open borders. But in fact, both Republicans and Democrats have gotten together and tried to pass amnesties 3 times in the last 10 years. At least twice being supported by the president and the majority party in both houses. And how did it get shut down? By the American people rising up in a rage. And I mean, the unfortunate thing about these protests you're showing, which really do make me so angry, because There were 10,000 people inside the stadium tonight. The reports are it was one of the most diverse crowds anyone has ever seen. You have Mandarin Chinese with signs for Trump, Make America Great Again, written in Mandarin. You have huge groups of Hispanics, and they're all chanting, build the wall, because you got it right before when you slipped and said something about the protesters versus the Trump supporters, and you called the Trump supporters the Americans. They are the Americans.
First of all, that was a slip. I was looking at the American flags against the Mexican flags, and it was a slip. And I tell you,
but
I don't know.
I
assume most of the people there are Americans. But I assume most of the Hispanic people there are Americans. They wouldn't be out protesting.
No, but whether they are Hispanic or Mandarin, the ones inside the stadium are Americans and think of themselves as Americans and want the laws enforced. And it's just unbelievable that people are surprised.
You caught it. It was a slip. I mean, it wasn't intentional, I can tell you. Let me go to Katie Tur right now. I never thought the Mexican flags was a particularly good public relations move here by the protesters. But your thoughts?
Well, I think that, and I think Ann really sort of got to it, a person who is a Trump supporter landlocked in Indiana or in West Virginia is not concerned about Mexican migrants pouring over the southern border. That isn't the point. It is a symbol for a larger context, which is what I call demographic panic, this notion that they, in scare quotes, taking away the country from us, in scare quotes. This idea that there is an ethnic sort of war being waged against people who consider themselves more legitimately American. This is old America versus new America. And I think that symbolically for Trump support, I do. I think that people
who are here legally, let's just try the law question. I know it's ethnic, but people have been here a generation or two illegally, even if their parents came not that way. Do you think people don't think of them as Americans?
I do. I think that if you look at polling, particularly of Trump supporters, they overestimate the percentage of Hispanics who are in the country illegally. They think it's like 70% when it's like 15%, right? They think and perceive people who are of Hispanic heritage as being illegitimately in the country. If they hear someone speaking Spanish...
Well, they're voting. That can't be the case. There's 13% of the electorate is now as Latino.
Right, and they believe that if they're voting illegally, and they're sneaking into the polls, and they believe if they're speaking Spanish, they're violating some sort of compact with the rest of America. There is a sense of demographic panic that's taking place as the younger generations are more and more non-white. And let's just be frank, illegal immigration, quote unquote, unlawful migration is a symbol for demographic panic. And that is what Donald Trump is stoking.
Well, I make that same mistake myself tonight. Looking at the American flags and saying the Americans, what a terrible mistake. I apologize for that to everybody. I mean it.
But it isn't. As I told you, they have Mandarins in the audience. They have Hispanics in the audience.
See all those
Mandarins. It's exactly the opposite of demographic panic. It has nothing to do
Asian Americans, Ann. Asian Americans, not Mandarins.
It has nothing to do with demographics. It has to do
throwback language. It's not 1913. They're called Asian Americans, not Mandarins.
I was saying it has nothing to do with demographics. It has to do with whether you are here legally or illegally, whether you consider yourself an American, whether the laws on the books are going to be enforced. An invasion of people across the southern border.
If your default in discussing Asian Americans is to call people Mandarins, we're not bringing back arcane language here, Ann. Let's just talk about people as Americans. Asian Americans. That's the term.
No, you're not going to get police my language. They are Mandarins. It is written in Mandarin.
I think somebody just said, I agree with, which is if you consider yourself American, you are. Anyway, my thanks to Katie Tur and Jacob Rascone on the ground in San Diego. Joy Reid and Ann Coulter, thank you for that.